Hey, we got the sound. We got the sound. It's here. I was just actually calling Jasper over, who is well, the sound is on now. Thanks for paying attention. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. Um so yeah, what's going on? What's happening? Jasper's on the new set. I'm working on a new set. Studio B. And Studio B has a different chair. So Jasper is he's over on the chair, the new chair. It's like his throne. He's the king. Jasper's the king. So how is everybody? Thanks for your patience. I'm glad you're here. We got a fair amount to go over tonight. I don't know how long I'm going to go tonight. Maybe a couple hours. I think maybe 2 hours would be a good show tonight. I want to take you out into the depths of the evening, but hopefully what we talk about will make some sense, resonate, titillate, entertain, Sunday night. Anyway, here's what's on the menu. Is that Grant Wall you talk about sometimes, the one that died? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, Grant Wall somebody just asked me about Grant Wall in chat or text. Might have been Tom. Tom asked me that. Let me see here. Well, Johnny. No. So Grant Wall, I think you're confusing with Grant Cohn. That's who I think you're confusing with. They're both sports writers. Grant Wall, in fact, Grant Wall used to write for Sports Illustrated, and I think Grant Cohn has an affiliation with Sports Illustrated, but they're not connected at all. There you are. Okay. Now look who's here. We're complete. The show's complete. Yeah. You know where the action is. Even though you're on your throne, you know where the action is. It's right here. Yeah. Yeah. Anything you want to say to anybody? Anything you want to share to the world or with the world? To, with, for? Anything? Huh? All right. You just keep giving me your moral support. That's all I care about. So Grant Wall, bizarre story. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a Libra. Keeping it in the astro realm. Grant Wall was a soccer writer who had been writing for Sports Illustrated. I guess they dumped him during COVID. Maybe that's when he got radicalized. I don't know. Maybe he was always radicalized. But he went over to, hey, no, you don't do that. He took a poop about an hour ago. So I think he's still like feeling his oats. The cats, they do that. Leave this alone. Yeah, just relax here. Let me tell the story about Grant Wall now. Okay, so Grant Wall he wrote about soccer for Sports Illustrated, and he got laid off during COVID. But I guess he was doing like a blog or independent journalist. Anyway, he was married to this woman. I think her name is Cecilia Gounder. I think her last name is Gounder, and she works for the Biden administration. She's in, one of the disease departments. You know what I mean? One of the disease departments. CDC, NIH, one of these disease departments. And I think she wrote a book, and she's an up-and-coming epidemiologist, a rising star in the world of epidemiology. Anyway, they were married. Grant Wall went over to Qatar, which I think is Qatar. It was Qatar, then it was Qatar. You remember when Dick Cheney used to pronounce it Qatar? In Georgia, Qatar? Went over there to Qatar. So he went to Qatar, formerly Qatar, and decided he was going to wear some LGBTQIA plus paraphernalia. And of course, the Qatarians, not to be confused with Chatarians or Chartarians, but the Qatarians said that ahead of time, please leave your LGBTQIA+ rainbow fashion at home, please do not bring it to Qatar. Not everybody listened, and Grant Wall was one of those people. So he's wearing his, soccer rainbow shit, and he goes there and gets basically tossed out of a game. They don't let him into a game, but he made a few phone calls, and I guess he got on the phone with Cecilia, who got on the phone with somebody from the Biden admin, and he got into the game. He'd been doing some updates, but he's clearly like a next thing guy. You know what I mean by next thing guy? It's whatever the next thing is. He's a next thing guy. And then I guess he went. Did he go missing or something? I think he went missing, or he went to a hospital, and then he was complaining of chest pains, bronchitis, and then apparently he died. Now, I saw the video of his brother, who was very upset, and I'm not here to cast any aspersions on Grant Wall's passing or death, nor do I care to insinuate things that you may hear in a particular way. I watched that video with a brother a couple times. No tears. Now, maybe he'd been crying so much that he was cried out and his tear ducts were just completely emptied and were just empty vessels. That's possible. That is possible. So that's who Grant Wall is, if you're keeping score at home. Speaking of keeping score at home, how about Big Cock Brock Purdy, killing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady? It was going to be the kid's day. He was born on the 27th of December. He's a Capricorn. And we just have Mercury and Venus in the first decan of Capricorn. So it's lining up there with BCB. That, by the way, that's his nickname. That George, I'm not so little Kittle, gave him. I guess everybody in the 49ers, with the exception of Trey Lance, because nobody ever named Trey Lance Big Schwanz Lance, although he did go to a little stripper party at somebody's house, and he was making it rain. And then right after that, he broke his ankle and was out for this. Anyway, Brock Purdy, congratulations. Being a Capricorn, today he is the GOAT. He beat the GOAT. The GOAT beat the GOAT. Brock Purdy from Arizona beat Tom Brady. And Tom Brady with the Sun-Saturn conjunction in the sign of Capricorn. Well, I'm sorry, Sun-Saturn conjunction sign of Leo. My bad, which is Capricorn-esque. Excuse me. But the 49ers did lose another Capricorn today in Deebo Samuel, who went out with, guess what, an ankle injury. So his pesky ankle injuries was Saturn in Aquarius. Last week it was Jimmy Garoppolo. This week it was Deebo Samuel. So guard your ankles with Saturn in Aquarius. It seems to be in the air. All right, we have a fair amount of ground to cover tonight. And this is a night where I'm going to talk about our friends and friends of the show, including me, because I am my own friend. I am an only child. So I was an only child. Now I'm the only offspring who sometimes acts like a child, but still have become an adult. I'm going to talk about some of our friends tonight and some of their offerings. So let's get that part started. And then I'll jump into chat, and then we'll crank everything up. We'll get into the chart of the moment, and we're going to look at some pretty cool stuff tonight. We're going to look at Stanley Kubrick's relationship with Leon Vitali. This is weird, but interesting. Trust me. It's weird, but interesting. What else? We're going to take a little bit look at perfections and what perfections are. I got a nice little web page with a nice link lined up. I'll put the link in the chat, not the chat, but in the show notes. So you can go there, and they've got it all worked out. So perfections have to do with basically going around your chart year by 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 year. And it starts off when you're one, and then the next year is that's your first perfection, and that's what you're learning about. And then you're in your second perfection at the age of 2, going to the second house, right? So it goes all the way around. So by the time you get to age 13, you're back in the first house perfection. So that comes out of Hellenistic astrology. We're going to get into that a little bit tonight. It seems to be pretty accurate as far as just kind of a quick glance, sort of thumbnail to kind of catch where you are. I want to thank my buddy Jamie for asking about it last night via text. So we'll get into that a little bit. And let's see. And by the way, I am by no means a Hellenistic astrological expert, but we'll dabble. We'll put our toe in it tonight. What else do we have? I'm going to talk also about Mars retrograde Gemini. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about everything that's going on just in terms of people doing the death spiral, and also people that are dropping, not even doing the death spiral, not even doing the conical death spiral, but people that are dropping, and a lot of people are dropping. And more than that, it's more than just the dropping. We're in this phase of massive deconstruction. So the term that I came up with was defragging the mind. And Gemini represents how we think. And Mars is the ruling planet of Aries, which is the head. So retrograde is we're going backwards. We're breaking shit down, right? We're breaking shit down. We are defragging our mind. And we've been on that process for a while, but it's really amping up now. People are starting to see things and understand things in a way that maybe they've never seen or understood them before. And so to me, it's like I'm trying to find the kind of the silver lining inside of this potentially really harsh Mars retrograde, and to see it from a big picture perspective where we're witnessing things and we're seeing things that we are not used to seeing. So it's going to break down our relationship with reality. And I'm going to get into just a little bit of how astrology is the thing. I had some experiences this week, and just even looking around at what's going on, some of the things that are happening, strangely enough, in the news, where we're seeing astrology literally become manifest in our lives. We can talk about the Twitter files and how the Twitter files are part of the South Node in Scorpio, where things are, whatever you think of Musk. I'm not the biggest Musk guy. He seems a little like one of Russ's turtles on the fence post kind of people. But you have to admit that some of the Twitter file stuff coming up really is like the turds from the bottom of the of the toilet or whatever. They're starting to come to the surface now. So we're starting to see a lot. It's beginning to happen, right? This South Node in Scorpio, and I think it's still in the second decan, which puts it in the Piscean decan. But it will be moving in the Cancerian decan here. I think it is in the Cancerian decan. Is that right? No, that's the moon. That was the moon today at 29 degrees in the in that final degree of the moon today, which would have put it in the I think the Piscean decan. That's right. Anyway, we're going to sort some of that stuff out. Astrology is the thing, and that might be even just a new segment that I'm going to do each week and give you things that I experience that are kind of happening around us, where it sort of fleshes out this whole idea of astrology. So what do we got? We got the strange connection between Stanley Kubrick and Leon Vitali. It's a really interesting connection. Astrology is a thing. We've got Mars retrograde in Gemini, defragging the mind, the chart of the moment. That should be good enough to have a bit of a conversation. Oh, and perfections. Isn't that right, Jasper? You good with that? Okay, so why don't we do this? Let me get into this part of the show. So why don't we start with my good friend, Lady Artemis, and her beau, Bubba. Let me find this thing. This was all that. There's all that. Yes. There's all that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Let's bring this. No, we don't want that. What do we want? We want that. Okay. There we are. All right. So you guys probably know Lady Artemis and her product, Artemis Designs, right here. It's a fine looking website over there on Etsy. There we go. Ancient coin jewelry, $9.25 sterling silver. Got a 4.8. Average review is 4.8 or higher. It's pretty good. 5,157 sales. This is no fly-by-night operation. Of course, they were a big hit at our get-together in October here in the Hill Country. And you can get all kinds of goodies. Well, I think we got a oh, look how cute they are. Look at that. They are so in love. Look at that. There, isn't it? Love is a beautiful thing. All right. Whoop, there we go. Artemis Designs right there. Okay. So if you're into astrology or you're into symbolism and you're looking for a unique gift, we got horoscope pendants right here. If that's your thing. You can find your sign. We've got gold. We got silver. Pretty cool, right? Look at that. We got a little combination there, right there. So we got pendants. They got earrings. They got all kinds of goodies. They've got horoscope rings right here. Got yourself a Sagittarius ring. We have the Aries spinning rings. They're spinning rings, like secret decoder rings. These two, no, I'm just kidding. Capricorn, we're in the season of Capricorn. We've got horoscope necklaces right there, looking pretty sexy. All right. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. A lot of other stuff. What else do we have here? Let's see. She's got, check out some of these bracelets. So the bracelets are alligator. And by the way, they only use alligator that has been set aside because every now and then they got to cull the alligators. There's too many of them. It's not like they went out and just killed some random alligators. So if you're a PETA person, just know that these alligators who've been transformed into this beautiful art, well, they were on their way out anyway. Right. So this is all sourced, approved, no black market alligator went into the production of these bracelets. Okay. Look at this. You got a Janus coin bracelet. That is so cool. Right there. This is my favorite right here. This exotic cuff bracelet. Boom. All kinds of really, really interesting stuff. And it's not just astrological stuff, but there's all kinds of different symbols. They have ancient symbols, they have tarot symbols. We got gold dagger earrings, all kinds of really cool stuff. Battle axe earrings, silver teardrops. Anyway, here's the deal. You come in here for the next 48 hours, you type in Astro, capital ASTRO, Astro, and you'll get 15% off your order. How cool is that? I don't know if it's works for the on sale stuff. Maybe it does. If it does, you may just want to just pile on top of that with that 15% discount. I'm not sure. You can try it. But that's all you got to do. So, what you're doing here is you're supporting a local artist, a friend of mine. And this is no made in China shit. Trust me, she does all of her designs. 5,157 sales. Not a bad gig. Okay. We got more. Why don't we stay in Etsy world here? And let's talk Chris and Steve for a minute. At this point, let's talk Chris. Christina Crimmy has also put in a 15% discount over on her Etsy shop. Chris is part of Chris and Steve and the Crimmys, and she's got a lot of her prints there, greeting cards, acrylic prints, phone cases. This is all stuff she's done, her art prints. And then all you got to do is, what is their code? Let me get their code. I love the birds. The birds are cool. All right. Let's see. Oh, Chris has marked everything off 15% off already. You don't need a code. So there's that side. By the way, I'll put all these links inside the show page. And then she has another page here from Philosophy Farm. Look how productive she is. Everything's been marked off 15%. So if you're looking to support some of the folks who are on this show, and I'll make sure that everybody's links are in the show page. You can get a tote bag. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. The Rose Vortex Beginningless Time, 15% off of all these prints. Unique Japanese doll, vintage. Oh, look at that. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Lots of yarny wool mohair blend textile stuff. Excellent. Got a tote bag. So there you go. That's Chris and Philosophy Farm. Everything on her page has been taken down 15%. And then staying with the Cremies, we have another 15% off deal at Logo Sophia, which is their publishing company. And I just got my copy of Elisa E., Our Life Beyond MK Ultra. Now there is a warm and fuzzy little Christmas gift that you can put in somebody's stocking. Our Life Beyond MK Ultra, then and now. Anyway, if you get something, whether it's that book or Walking with Alethea by Jean Hargadon Wenner, which is about a very famous case. She was in the Netflix series. And this is more about the recovery of her process, where it's unfortunate that she was molested by a priest in Baltimore who was involved in the molestation of a number of, but this is not a downer book. This is how she wound back. It's part of the story, but it's also her putting all her pieces back together. So if you get a book here from Logo Sophia, and they've got other books, all you got to do is send them an email and say you're with Chattaria, and Steve will refund you 15% of your purchase price. So there you go. We're not done though, because you got me and I got some discounts tonight too. And thank you for being patient as we kind of move through some of this stuff here. So my sale is going to last for 48 hours. I'm going to put the link in here. So I have an astrology course that is a pretty fucking good astrology course, I have to say. It's 16 hours. It's got labs. It's got lectures. And it's soup to nuts. Everything you want to get from a course in astrology, you get inside this course. And the cool thing is you go at your own pace. You download it on your computer. It's yours. Everybody tells me I should charge more. I probably should and probably will. But tonight I'm charging less. For the next 48 hours, I'm going to leave all these links in here. This is my Gumroad page. And you're going to get 25% off my course. That takes down quite a bit, actually. So you get 25% off my course. All you got to do is put in Jasper 22, JASPER 22 after, well, when you're about to check out, in that little box, put JAS, capital J, lowercase ASPERE, Jasper 22, and you'll get 25% off of my course. How's that? But we're not done. We are not done. I got one more goodie for you. And it's right here. It says with readings. And this is from my website. And I'll make sure that you guys have the link in the description page. So this is the 48 hours Mars Retro 2019 reading rollback price. So for 48 hours, I'm rolling back my price to my pre-COVID price, which is $195. And my sessions normally are $250. And I think $250. I'm just saying it's still a pretty good deal. Just saying. But for the next 48 hours, if you go here, you'll get my 2019 rate for 48 hours. It's a discount of $55. So if you've ever wanted to get a reading and you're like, God, I'd love to get a reading. Well, now's your time. Now's your chance. Or if you feel like you want to get a reading for a person and you want to spend $195, which these days is nothing for a gift, I'm just being honest. I mean, I spent at least $100 on just Jasper alone. So if you are into that, just go here. Again, I'll leave the link in the description box of the show. You can go ahead and get it. Okay, all those goodies. And of course, I got to give a good shout out to True Hemp Science, because True Hemp Science is a partner of, it's actually the sponsor of tonight's show. Well, Chris sponsors all my shows. So True Hemp Science is, for me, probably the best CBD I've tried. That the new 19 is amazing, really amazing. So let me just give you a quick visual of True Hemp Science, and we're just getting all this done up front. I'm not going to take any more breaks. And normally I just talk about True Hemp Science at the beginning of the show, but because our friends are running some specials tonight, and myself included, I think it was worthwhile, or it is worthwhile, to talk about them. So if you're interested in, I think he's putting together kind of a bundle package, which hopefully next week I'll be able to talk about. So if you're interested in getting into CBD and you haven't tried it before, or you've tried it and you really haven't felt the kind of results that you're looking for, why don't you give True Hemp Science a shot? A lot of people who are in Chattaria have, and they love it. Of course, the top of the hit parade is the gummies, which everybody seems to love and get. And once Chris gets a new batch of gummies, they're pretty much gone. So he's like the Willy Wonka of gummies. He just keeps trying to churn these gummies out so he can stay up with the demand. He's also got this moon dust stuff, which is very cool. And you can add it to coffee. W.C. Ray has his own concoction with liquid Einstein, and he's got this whole thing figured out where the synergistic elements of Chris's moon dust and liquid Einstein and some other stuff just all come together, and bam, he's got himself a innervating wake-up cocktail. In any case, you could go here, truehempscience.com/ref/23. You spend $150 or more, you'll get free product. I'm sorry, $100 or more, you get free product. $150 and more, you get free product, and you get free shipping. All right, I think we're done. We're done. We've done all of our shout outs here. And I'll have links for everybody in the show page, the description of. All right, let's see who's here tonight. And let's get into the topic at hand. Remember, these are 48-hour sales. So you want to jump on Padrita. What's happening, Padrita Pebbles? Our gal from Brazil. There's my man, Tomas Jordan. What's going on? JJ Rain de Blanc. Uh-oh, something terrible happened. We live in a world where bad shit happens. Shirley Luciava, what's going on, Shirley? Only offspring of my parents' union as well. Interesting perspective from this space. Yeah, it is, right? Being the only one. It's interesting. You're the first child, you're the middle child, and you're the youngest child. Carried on that tradition with my own offspring as well. All right, who else do we have? Catherine Z, what's happening? Catherine Z, CC Jones, fantastic. Checking in. Boy, we are really behind. Really, really behind here. I don't know. Slow lag time. Wow. That is bizarre. So I'm watching the show. I talked about this Artemis, the Artemis material like 10 minutes ago. Was it really that far behind? Jonathan Picone, what's going on, Jonathan? I want to let everyone know today is my birthday. Right on, Jonathan. Happy birthday, Mr. Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. We're the most philosophical sign in the zodiac. That's what Jim Morrison once said. Who else do we have? Oswald Spengler. Oswald Spengler. What's happening? There's Brian. He's here. Susie Gemini giving Jonathan a little birthday greeting. There she is, the lovely and talented one. It's Jasper's idol, Dr. Joan S. Karen McQuaid is here. What's going on, Karen? Good to see you. Thank you, Ryan, for putting a link in. Star Dreamer. Getting a lot of birthday wishes from Jonathan. Let's see who else we have. Harriet Bowie. Hey, Harriet. Love a Scorpio. We love a Scorpio. Anomaly had a good year update breakdown today. Not crazy. Thanks, Bo. Thanks for bringing that up. I watched it. I like Anomaly. I like that dude. He's cool. He had this guy on. His last name is Rackman. Rudy Rackman. And Rudy happens to live in Israel. And they had a little bit of a discussion about, well, the things that Anomaly talks about. I recommend it. It was a really good show. I like Anomaly. He's a good kid. I'd like to have him on the show. He's a Christian. He may not get into the astrology stuff, but on a Friday show, he'd be a good guest. Good vibe. Secret Sun called them Suddenlies on Twitter the other day. Yeah, that's a good one. I like the Suddenlies. And Christopher's iconic. So coming up with an iconic name fits. Awakening Soul. It's Awakening Soul. Awakening Soul. Southwest Florida with our man. Southwest Florida real estate with our man, Lewis Walden. What's going on, Lewis? Good to see you. Let's see. I had a nightmare last night. Mars and Capricorn. Weird crap happening. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Taffy Polensky. Who else do we have? God, this ad is way behind. Beth Cummings. Very interested in forensic astrology. Ooh. Forensic astrology. I'm loving the stuff Elon is bringing up, though. Hey, look, get your tickets to the movie and get your popcorn. That's where it's at. Twitter blocked Bryson today. Yeah, that's weird, right? It's like old Johnny Greenblatt, I think, is now running the censorship portion of Twitter. If I'm not mistaken, can I call him Johnny? He just seems so stiff and formal. Jonathan Greenblatt. Let's call him Johnny. Johnny Greenblatt. He's running. I think he's running the censorship side of things at Twitter now. He got a little bit, I think, antsy about what Bryson was, because they want to just take the thumb, right, and just stamp that thing out before it even gets started. That's what he said over on the Breakfast Club. I wonder what sign he is. I don't think I want to know. All right, who else do we have? Mars King maybe needs crash test dummies. Mars King. That's funny. Mars King. That's good. Hey, Stephen Andrus is here. What's going on, Stephen Andrus? I don't like Elon Musk, but I do appreciate what he's doing. Hey, look, sometimes the universe just balances itself out. Remember I've been talking about how this whole thing, best laid plans, sometimes they don't always work out the way that they want them to. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what happens. Matt Tabibi or Barry Weiss, starts throwing some shit out there. And next thing you know, somebody flips out, and then they start talking shit or doing weird things. And then it goes in another direction, right? And we have this high strange start to take place. And you start off here, and this thing happens, and this thing comes up, and next thing you know, there's a whole domino effect going. I mean, you just don't know where all this stuff is going to land, right? All right, Terry Capital's here. Hey, Terry. Here's my man, Jamie, Lana Anderson. Elon made a deal with God. Ooh, that is a bold statement. Yeah, but which God? I guess there's only one true God. W.C. Ray. Hunter's files are more important. It's all, you know what it is? It's all South Node and Scorpio stuff. All of it, especially the Hunter stuff. It's all South Node and Scorpio stuff. We'll talk about it. When we get into astrology as a thing, we'll talk about it. All right. Still don't trust Monkey Chip Man. No, I don't either. But then again, I don't trust anybody. And there are people I do trust. I trust a lot of you because I've met a lot of you. And you know who else I trust? I trust Jasper. I trust this guy right here. That's who I trust. Let's see who else we have. But I ain't into the Monkey Chip at all. Well, look at that. Shirley loves my Artemis jewelry. There we go. Peter Ballone, what's up, you freakazoid? Lauren Williams is here. Elon is the Pied Piper. I would agree with that. He's the new Bill Gates. I've been talking about that for a while. I really enjoyed hanging out with Lady Artemis and her husband at Harvest Moon. Yes. Very cool people. Let's see, what else do we have? Hanging laundry. Gorgeous pieces. Yeah, you guys are digging them. Good. Michelle on Wheels. You know what, Michelle on Wheels? I'm making you a moderator because Michelle can talk about our Discord group. If you guys follow Nish, she recently had XCD Hat Guy on. I think it's XCD, XLCD Hat Guy. Who I was the bridge between Nish and the Hat Guy. And I've known the Hat Guy's been on my show a couple times. So the Hat Guy and I go way back. I've known the Hat Guy since I think 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So going on 11 years now. And I did not know the Hat Guy was a fucking internet sensation. Although I knew he was really bright. I didn't know he was an internet sensation back in the day. Anyway, he's rounding back into form. He's got his own Discord group, and he's going to be joining us on Discord either this week or next week. I'm not sure which. So we'll do it. We're going to have a Discord chat with Hat Guy. That'll be really cool. So Michelle on Wheels, you got yourself a wrench. All right, who else do we have? The Naked Truth. Can you do a video with Julian? I've done Assange's chart before. I went so fucking deep. I was one of the first people to, so we're going back to 2013, 2014. So again, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, I had all this stuff on my website with images and everything, and my images got eradicated. I still have them somewhere, but heartbreaking. But I went to Assange's chart. I went into his past. I went into this weird community that he grew up in. Very, very strange community. I think there was a documentary, it was all in Australia, where this community, and all the kids had, the bowl cuts and blonde hair, and they took acid. They gave the kids acid. It was very strange shit. Elon's bizarre relationship with his so-called father. I personally think that Elon Musk is probably a limited hang. I can't sit here and vouch that he's alive or exists. I can't. I have my own reasons for that, but maybe with Mars retrograde, maybe next week we'll take a whack at his chart. I'm not opposed to revisiting that. Okay, let's see. Who do we have? Who else? Let's see. Chelsea Tantra. Look at that. She loves Robert's course. There we go. We like that. If I had a way to highlight that, I would. Thank you, Chelsea. That's a Neo. Robert's Astro course is fun. Good. We got some people in here. Good. That have taken the course. Let's see. Meow meow. Big heart to you, meow meow. All right. There's Michael. What's going on, Michael? Update with Lewis. It will be beautiful once again. Amazing new homes will go there. I get it will not be the old FMB, but time only moves in one direction. Unless, of course, you're doing a 2019 discount. In which case, it moves in two directions. The code for my course is Jasper 22. The code for Artemis is Astro. There is no code for Chris and Steve. Well, on Chris's site, it's all 15% off. And if you buy a book from Logosophia, just tell them you came from Chattaria and Steve will kick you back 15%. There we go. Just watch Austin Kopic on Rune Soup do an astral analysis next year, even further out. Pretty mind-blowing stuff. Highly recommend. Well, I'm going to do the same thing. I will do the same thing. And I will do it before the end of the year. But for my members, you will get the full 2-hour plus version. 2-hour plus version. And it's one of the benefits of membership. Oh, I got a nice little bonus for members this month. You know our friend Mark, the very cool and talented illustrator. Mark is making us a Christmas card, and Jasper's going to be in it. That's coming out, so you're going to get a nice Christmas greeting that has Jasper in it and Mark's talented hand. So we get goodies. We got goodies here. All right, let's get into some astrology. Let's jump into it. Thanks for hanging out and being a part of the festivities. It's like you're in the lobby. We're all hanging out in the lobby. Come on in. Come on in. Let's check out the chart of the moment. It was the chart of the moment. Here, let's do this. I think I may just want to do, I've never really looked at Kubrick's chart. But I may just, he's born on this really interesting day. Shout out to Darren Williams, although he probably doesn't listen to this show anymore or watch it. But it's Darren Williams' birthday. August 26th. Is that right? Yes. Yes, indeed. Same birthday as Mick Jagger and Carl Jung. All right. Natal chart right there. Let me do this for Kubrick. Right there. Right there. Right there. And right there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Okay. let's see. Let's go over here and I have to make one adjustment. There we go. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Let's look at the chart of the moment. Let's get into it. It was the chart of the moment. I actually liked that song for a minute until MTV played the shit out of it. Okay. Isn't that Asia? Which was really kind of a version of Yes. 21, Cancer rising. This time of year, this time of night, we're in Cancerville. The moon has just moved into Leo. Earlier today was a 29, I think. Of course, it was a 29 earlier today. So moon in Leo, 2 degrees. And let's see. We're already at 20 degrees Sag. Man. We got 10 days left here. And then that's it. We're moving into the depth of winter. And I think next week they're expecting a pretty big freeze in the middle part of the country. And I hope everybody was nice and safe this last week. I think we got pretty good weather, but maybe the rough weather is going to catch up with us a little bit. So now we're still mathematically in the squares here with Mercury and Venus, right? So we have Mercury squaring Jupiter, and looks like it's moved out of the square with Neptune, which is good. So we're just in the Mercury Venus squares. We can live with that. That's doable. I talk about Jupiter squares on the show because that's where Mercury and Venus has been for a while now, the last couple of weeks, but they're separating, they're moving away. Elementally, they're hanging out a little bit, earth and water, but the Jupiter squares are, they're openings. It's about risk taking. Sometimes you can kind of be overconfident with Jupiter squares. I was the victim of that when I was young. I was overconfident at times. I was definitely overconfident. And every now and then I would get knocked down. It was the best thing for me, actually. So you get that with Jupiter squares, whatever they are. With the sun, it's kind of overconfident, over optimistic with one's identity. But sometimes that weird overconfidence or over optimism can carry you through some pretty interesting moments. Other times, it can remind you that a little too overconfident. Maybe you should take a few steps back. Think about it, right? With Mercury, it's more like being overconfident with what you say and stating something unequivocally that's a fact. Sometimes it's like Mercury and Sagittarius. Mercury and Sagittarius will do that sometimes. It'll just state something like it's a fact out of nowhere. And you know what's really weird about that? And people go, huh? But what's weird about that is sometimes, a lot of times, Mercury and Sagittarius will ultimately be right. But like they're not taking the Gemini route or the Virgo route to get there, which is kind of proving out their thesis. Mercury and Sagittarius goes to the end and says, well, this is it. And so and so and so and so. You're like, what? How did you get there? And then over time, it's kind of like, you know what? they were kind of right about this. Although in the moment it sounds fucking ridiculous. And they're just, oh yeah, everybody knows that, right? Oh, really? So Mercury Jupiter square is kind of like, even though Mercury is in much steadier Capricorn, and really the wider square is the Venus Jupiter square, which again is, we just might need a little more of the Venus Jupiter square, because we've been so fucking tortured and abused and traumatized for a while now, but really the last 3 years just cranked it up, right? So Venus Jupiter square is almost an overabundance of good faith in other people. And maybe we just kind of need that in order to offset the depth of the cynicism and the hyper attenuation that people have developed. I mean, everybody's fucking cynical now for the most part. I mean, if you're not somewhat cynical, you're not paying attention. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. But with the Venus Jupiter square, yeah, howdy neighbor, right? How you doing? Let me buy you a drink, right? That's like the Venus Jupiter square. I mean, these squares are not, especially now that they've moved out of orb with Neptune, where everything can get a little sloppy. It may be okay for some of these things, right? We don't always have to be fucking perfect. That's the important part. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, it's better to be imperfect and live with enthusiasm, zeal, and heart than it is to be completely studied and calculated and theoretically perfect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think the former is way better than the latter. So this is the energy that's starting this week off. It's, take a stranger out to lunch. Just make sure they're not wearing a mask. Wouldn't that be interesting though? Hi, I noticed that you were wearing a mask, and I please don't take this personally, but I'd like to ask you out to lunch. And I have no desire to, be a thing with you. I said to myself today, ask somebody out who has a mask and let's take him out to lunch. What do you think the mask person would do? Okay. All right, where do you want to go? Because on some level, the masked person is lonely. The masked person is lonely. They love the mask. It gives them the excuse to be anonymous. These are the people that are hanging on to the mask. They have been feeling naked all their life, and the mask was the best fucking thing that ever happened to them. It allows them to cover up half their face so that the rest of the world doesn't have to see who they are. Throw in some dark glasses, and man, you got the invisible man or woman in this regard. So why don't you ask a masked person out for lunch? I don't know. Don't worry, I'll sit 6 feet across from you. I mean, it's a little extreme, but that's kind of what the energy is here. It's like, break out of your comfort zone a little bit. Take a little bit of a risk, have some fun. Even if you fall flat on your face, it's okay. As long as you come at it with the right intention and the right spirit. All right? I think I'm pretty right. Pluto steaming forward, 27 degrees. Yeah, that's the Pluto return right there of the United States of America. Was watching you guys know I talked about him before. This guy Dan Shikaz, he and his wife and their daughter now are, I guess they're stranded in Turkey. And it's really, I haven't watched their channel in a while because I got a little weirded out by them. They kept getting all this money and all this shit from the United States. People are sending them boxes of this. boxes of that, and they're getting, I think they got a shit ton of money actually. So all these other bloggers or vloggers in Russia started to do their own channels. Well, it's like, if the she causes can do this, well, we can too. So now I'm starting to see all these other, hello, my good friends in America, we love you so much, right? I mean, so there was that. It was happening. It became a thing there for a bit. I'm like, I got to get off this. This cute little channel was kind of novel for a while. Anyway, he's now in Turkey with his family. He was very glum. His last video, he was very, very glum. But he was talking about his motherland. You know, he was talking wistfully about the earth and the mountains and his family. And, you know, somebody who really had the blood of Mother Russia running through his veins. He was very patriotic. And so, you know, what does that do? You know, it's like, well, where the hell am I? Am I that patriotic? And he said, whatever your motherland is. And he started naming off all these countries, including the United States. I'm like, well, and I've gone through this before on my show. Maybe this one, I know, on my Friday show. And how when I was young, I was really, really patriotic. I was like, yeah, Team America. And then the 60s came. It was all right. And then Nixon got impeached. And that was a killer, right? That was a total killer. That was a demoralization blow to the heart. Dim mock right there. So for a long time, then I began to look into what's going on behind the scenes in the country. And when you look behind the scenes in the country and you really get down into the sewers, you can never unsee some of that stuff. Just can't see it. Can't unsee it, rather. So then you think about, well, what's it really about? Right? The hype, the dream. And I really think that you don't really understand America until you're somebody who comes to this country from another country with the right intention. With the right intention. And I'll never forget, I think it was around 2015. And I was with my kid and we were getting an Uber ride from northern Austin back to our house in southern Austin, South Austin. And our guy was from Iraq. And this guy, the driver, was the most enthusiastic, patriotic motherfucker I'd ever run across. I mean, he loved America. And he was just, you know, like, dude, you're more patriotic than I am. That's how you know what this place is about, is when you see it or hear it through the eyes of another person who came here specifically to live the American dream, not to shit on the country, but to live the American dream. I'm like, wow, that was kind of a little bit of a wake up call for me. It's like, man, this dude's way more patriotic about this place than I am. So that's where we are with Pluto at 27. This is what I'm talking about. This is the Pluto return of the United States. And it's a really interesting thing to think about. This is where, you know, the Declaration of Independence was begun. It took him about a month to sign it. You know, July 4th, 1776, gets signed later. Less than about 3 weeks later, everybody finally puts their John Hancocks on there. And there's a spirit behind that. There's a spirit. It's a spirit. It's a document unlike any other document ever known to humanity. It was the document that was going to set this place apart from any other place. And of course, if you want to, you can get into the weeds. Oh, they belong to a secret society. They were Masons. They were Rosicrucians. They were Oddfellows. You know, they weren't Oddfellows, but you get the idea. And sure, you want to go down into the colonization rabbit hole. Sure, you can do that if you want. But flawed men brought us a document that was almost in equal scope and importance as the Ten Commandments. Think about that for a second. The Declaration of the United States of America is right up there with the Ten Commandments. And the Ten Commandments being a kind of a universal law. But this document for this country, and that really was the lighthouse for the rest of the world. And then what separated that out is, of course, land ownership, which you couldn't do. People don't realize that you couldn't have land. Whatever you were doing belonged to the king or the duke or the baron or the count, or whoever it was that was, managing the land. You were the vassal. And so this was a vassal-free state. And where are we going now? We're way less than that. Way less than that. So the Pluto return on the surface seems to be part of this inversion. You'll own nothing and be happy. That is the 180 of what this country was founded on, which was, yes, you too can be a landowner, just like the king and the queen and the count and the countess and the baron and the baroness. And there were other things there as well, right? But we're seeing the inversion. You'll own nothing and be happy. Not everybody is created equal. Not now. Some are created less equal than others. And if they're less equal than others, then God damn it, we got to plug in some equity. We got to change that, right? So everything that was happening then, we're seeing the inversion of it now. What about the First Amendment? Right? Freedom of speech, the right to self-expression, whatever that is, written. You can be quiet and have self-expression, silent protest. You can speak it out of the top of your lungs in a public space, as long as you don't yell fire in a crowded room. Well, there's a few other things now, but you see where that's going, right? That's, again, the inversion. Well, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. And Johnny Greenblatt is going to make you, if you get out of line, Johnny Greenblatt will put his thumb right on top of you. It's another inversion. So with Pluto at this 27th degree, everything that we started off with that document and then getting engaged with this conflict with the British. And yet I know a lot of people think that the British are still running the whole thing in the crown. And look, I know these things, okay? I'm not some Johnny Appleseed come lately. But let's just take it at face value, right? Because some of these things still exist, but they're doing everything in their power now to invert it all. Absolutely, 100%. That's the Pluto return. So here we are. It is the same conditions that existed in 1776, but they're more abstract than ever before. We all theoretically know that you can own a piece of land, especially if you have the alloidial title to it or the alloidial patent, then you'll really own it. But now this thing is getting different, right? It's getting different. And it's not everybody sure that they can own a house. Not everybody sure they can even rent a house. Look at the homeless situation that we have in this country. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So we look around and we see that our country, our once great country, and again, I've had to really, wrestle with this. And what makes the country great? What makes the country great are the people. The people in this country make the country great, not the institutions. The institutions, and there could be some good people inside the institutions, but the institutions are, the foundation is just massively cracked. I mean, deeply cracked. But it's the people. It's the people that are in this chat room tonight. Many of you whom I've met, some of whom I've not met, but in spirit, we have a meeting of the spirit. And that's what makes this country great. I don't care what color you are, if you are of the right mind and the right spirit and the right heart and the right attention, and you're all about truth and freedom and being interdependent, also known as sovereign and responsible, and you have good boundaries, you're in. You're in. When you live life with goodwill and good cheer, and you take care of those who are lesser, you stand up to the bullies in our society, you bring the high down, you raise the low up, you are part of what makes the country great. And that's what our subatomic structure is. And this is what we're going to need with this Pluto return. We're going to need to get in touch with that. And I don't care if you're red pilled, black pilled, purple pilled, I don't care. This is what we're going to need. And you get to practice it on a daily basis. Who am I today? Where am I today? What did I do today? Was I a better person today than I was yesterday? And if I wasn't, why? And do I cut myself a little bit of slack because maybe I was tired, or maybe I had to deal with some things in my life that really stretched my limits? Sure, absolutely. But that's where we got to go. That is where we have to go. We have to endeavor to step up and level up and get to the next level. And one of the ways we do that is we have to have a spiritual connection. That's when Neptune comes in here. And right now, Jupiter and Neptune, they're wide enough apart. And we've got this moon coming in right here, just right at the edge of the Cancer moon. And we can tap into this. We can tap into this idea of spirit, of God, of a creator who goes beyond, these 12 levels, these 12 dimensions of consciousness and the soul, beyond all of that, beyond it all. But that's all part of us, and we're part of it. And every day, when I was younger, I was given some cultural imprinting. And it was just also my chart. But I was given some cultural imprinting that, being a rebel and being vested in the counterculture and exploring the more bohemian parts of who I was what people did. That's what I grew up with. That was like, these were the American rites of passage. Jack Kerouac, the Beats, Timothy Leary, experimentation, consciousness, right? I felt like, well, this is the, the evolutionary path here. And then, of course, you get into, at a certain point, you get on that path and it's do as thou wilt. That's where it heads. And so that was my evolutionary path for a long time. And then it took me to have a kid to revisit that and recalibrate who I was. And that's been an ongoing journey for me in terms of recalibrating what I thought were the things that were cool, the things that would give me a cultural edge, all that stuff. That was just all part of our part of my rites of passage. And I won't exchange those things for anything. Those were really important, and at times, ecstatic and weird and dark times. On the other side of that, I see how, in many ways, that was the trap that a lot of us fell into. But it was an easy trap to fall into. It was a very easy trap. And why? Because I didn't want anything to do with this world. It was all completely fucked. I knew it was fucked. I knew it was dark. I knew it was corrupt. I knew that Kennedy was killed. At that time, I had a pretty good idea who did it. Later on, I had a very good idea who did it. 9/11 came around, knew it was an inside job. I'd had the darkness of the 90s, Pluto and Scorpio on my ascendant, right? So when you have these things, it's very hard to unsee them. But in order for us to get through this Pluto return moment, we're going to have to make big shifts in who we are. And I don't necessarily think it's all about wearing the red hat or making America great again. But we're going to have to find some values, some real values that are really core values. And so here we have the moon trine Jupiter and the moon trine Neptune. And I'm doing my best to express this in a way that you can understand it, because we need these core values. If we don't have the core values, we're fucked. We're really fucked. And you can black pill out, you can collapse, you can have a very dark kind of Phoenix-like moment and then resurrect from the ashes. Nothing wrong with that. I've done it. Trust me, I've done it. But you can't keep doing that, right? That process, and every now and then you're going to go through that process. It's just how it is. You lose a pet, you lose a family member, you lose a friend, and you get taken, underneath the wheel. You go beneath the wheel, and eventually you come up again. But you can't continue to do that, right? And I've seen people in the consciousness world continue to do that. And I'm doing shadow work. I'm doing shadow work. I'm doing shadow work. And it's like at some point, the crow just keeps beaking at pecking at its shadow, and it breaks its beak. Some people are addicted to that kind of transformational Phoenix-like moment. They trust me. Some people are addicted to it. We can have those, but the big Phoenix-like moment is happening right now in terms of what's going on in people's psyches, people's consciousness, and seeing what's happening in consensus reality, which I'm going to talk about with Mars and Gemini. So are we looking at a massive red pilling? I think we are. I think it's on its way. But it's not just a political red pilling. It is not just a political red pilling. This is a massive defragging of people's brains. Massive defragging of people's brains. And it's been a long time in coming. And if you've already been through the defragging process, guess what? You can help your friends. These are people who are confused. I mean, they're just confused. They don't really know what's going on, but they know something's wrong. I'm sure most people know somebody like that. They don't know exactly what's going on, but they know that they're not in Oz anymore. So maybe you can help out in that direction, in that area. But that's where we are with Pluto at 27 degrees. We're at that same place. It's you used to be able to own land, and you begin to have a sovereign stake in the world that we live in. But now you can't even own your own thoughts. You can't even own your own thoughts. You can't even own your own ideas. They're listened to, they're watched. In some cases, they're put under wraps and barred. Right? This is not the world that our forefathers put together on that sheet of paper. It's not. And this is what's happening now. This is what's coming up. This is where we are. Pluto at 27 degrees. The Pluto return. I believe this is it, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is the last conjunction of the Pluto return. So we were here, we went back over it, and now we're back again. And during that time when Pluto went retrograde, a lot of shit happened. Elon Musk did buy Twitter. That's right. And some things are happening. And right before Pluto, I think, went to 27, we had the yay moment. And all of a sudden, we realized that we couldn't really talk about the things that we wanted, for better or worse. For better or worse. You may agree with them, not agree with them. You may think he's crazy. We did a great breakdown last week with Darlene Watson in his human design chart. He's got the freak to genius line in his chart, the freak to genius channel. So again, this is all part of it. This is all part of that, the 27 degrees Pluto in Capricorn. I wonder if Ye's Sun and Jupiter are conjunct Uranus and Gemini, which is, by the way, not only are we going to go through, we're going through the Uranus return, we're going to, the Pluto return, we're going to go through the Uranus return of this country. It's a ways out, but when Uranus goes into Gemini, that's where Uranus was when the country, they signed that little piece of paper. That's going to be interesting too. All right, let's talk a little more about the energy here. Chiron, I think it moved up a degree in Aries. That's a really, this whole Chiron and Aries thing. So fascinating. Last time Chiron was in Aries was during the second wave feminism, which I've talked about before. And it seems like now Chiron in Aries means a number of different things, but I've been getting more that it's about men and men trying to figure out, well, where am I in this society? How do I fit in? Right. And I still think there's clearly a lot of ground to cover here. And Chiron's in the Leo decan. So you're going to get people who are involved in things like sports, people who are involved in things like acting, people that are on some kind of a stage. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets shaken out and, who defects, or who is proven to be somebody who, well, gee, I thought that guy was like that, but he's not really like that. I need to rethink that. You're like recently, who was it? Like Jack Black or Jack White from the White Stripes. He got all pissy. And shit about Elon Musk buying Twitter. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Well, good, leave. Right. That's one of, who was it? It was it's Christopher Knowles. You just keep seeing all these rock and rollers, guys that were against the man, fuck the system. And they've turned into the biggest industry cucks. It's like, really? You guys were rebels at one point. Now you're the most mainstream motherfuckers we've ever seen. Like you're tugging the company line here. That's all you're doing. You're not really, this is what's happening. And it's like, what? Really? This guy? See ya. And then you'll see other people who are like, wow, where did he come from? Well, he's doing something different, right? So this is where we are. And you look at celebrity, athletes, musicians, actors, men specifically. The other thing with Chiron here in this decan, well, just in general with Aries, is that it's all about hacking. Yeah, at one point they called us all the family of man, which is really what Aries is. It's the first sign. We all come into the first house, whether it's our rising sign or we got a planet there. So it's the family of man, right? And then, of course, we got split. We went through the fall. And it's, well, you ever wonder why they call it history and not her story? So we've been through that. We've been through the parsing of language now. And now it's getting so fucking crazy with the parsing of language that it isn't just about the binary he, she. We're talking multitudes of potential for identity. And this is hacking. This is hacking the identity with Chiron. It doesn't matter what decan it's in, but that's what's going on. And it gets to this idea that we have a multitude of selves or the potential of self-expression. And even on this planet, we have a multitude of self-expression, the thousand faces of God, right? This is kind of what we're talking about here. But instead of being able to keep that inside and allow that to well up and kind of infuse our life without having to make a fucking platform out of it, this is what happens. And so the whole thing is about an externalization. It's all about an externalization, that there's a multitude of life forms on this planet. I'm going to identify as a sea cucumber. Well, go ahead. You can identify with however you want. But that's really what I think it's about. So instead of really understanding a much more complex web of interconnected oneness from probably what I would say a more mystical level, instead, we're going to create 100 different potentials for identity. And then we'll suck the life out of the mystery of the complexity of interconnectivity, because that's exactly what it does. It's exactly what it does. But this is what I think we're trying to do. And so what do? They come along with like a hypertext language that diverts our ability to connect in a true Aquarian way, where we are diverse, we are different, we are interconnected, we are individuals, and we're not individuals. We're the center of the universe, and we're not the center of the universe. This is really how Aquarius works. But instead, what have they done? They've split the identity atom. This is like the fall. This is exactly like the fall. So when pre-fall, again, theoretically, just go with me here, we're just one. We're just one. We're just one in consciousness. And then, Eve sees the big snake in the garden, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get with the big snake. Right. So now all of a sudden we have what? Plurality in consciousness. We have duality. It's the Lover's card in the tarot. That's Edenic. Post Lover's card or post Eden becomes the devil, where the two are enchained. And of course, they wind up having offspring, and one of them becomes a fucking murderer, and then the rest is history, or her story. Anyway, we're kind of there. We're there again, because we were at this kind of Edenic moment. Well, it's me and you, man and woman. Here we are. We're stitching. We're stitching the chasm of Eden back together. Oh no, you're not. Did you know there are 100 different versions of you? What? Oh yeah, there are 100 different versions of you. That's another version of the fall. But this is, in my view, the false expression, or the synthetic fruit from the synthetic tree of knowledge. And what do we get? We get Pandora 2. Thank you very much. I think people were probably really okay with Pandora 1. That was enough. Cameron, Jim, plenty. It's plenty. We don't need you to go to bat for the removal of testosterone. Yeah, we know that you're old and you're losing your testosterone. We don't need to get on that ship. Anyway, this is all Pluto stuff here. Right? This is all Pluto at the 27th degree. I wasn't even really going to talk about it, but it was a notice. I'm like, oh yeah, time to go off on this a bit. Mars is retrograde. So why don't we talk a little bit about Mars retrograde? I came up with a graphic. See if I can find it here. It's right on my desktop. Okay. So Mars Gemini retrograde, defragging your brain. So I have Mars in the frontal lobe, the part that wants to murder somebody, theoretically. And then Gemini back there, right back there in the cool part of the cerebellum, the cool, more logical side of things. Anyway, this Mars Gemini retrograde is very interesting. I think whatever you feel about Stu Peters and his movie, and people dropping dead in the morgue reports. Some of that stuff probably a little over sensationalized, but all you got to do is look around, and there are new statistics. There are new victims on a daily basis. And don't think that people are not noticing. They are. They may not want to notice, but they're noticing. Now, on Twitter, you can, if you wanted to, you could just stay in an ideological ghetto if you wanted, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. You could be completely right wing, conservative, red pilled, queued out. You get the right people, you're in an ideological ghetto. You're not, if you just stay with people that are inside that world, everybody's going to be in an echo chamber and reflect your worldview. That's what I mean. So when I say ghetto, I'm not talking about just, like the Elvis Presley song. But it can go in either way, right? If you're like on the left and you're totally woke and progressive, you're in a ghetto. You're in an ideological ghetto. That's how this is kind of how they maintain control over people, because people want their worldview reinforced. Having their worldview reinforced helps them deal with chaos. It helps them create order out of a chaotic world. And you can get it on both sides. The left has their version of chaos, the right has their version of chaos. And do I think that one version might be a little more sane than the other? Sure, I do. But there are some things on the left that are worth looking at. You get people that are on the left, and a lot of them, are anti-war, and they look at what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. They bring up questions: why are we doing this? But these are people that are generally thinking people. That said, it's getting harder and harder to stay in your lane, because we're having this collision of reality. And that's where we have Gemini come into play, right? Duality and the plurality of consciousness. So when we have Mars retrograding, what it's doing is it's breaking down this potential for living in this bicameral world. That's what Mars retrograde is doing. It's exactly what it's like a battering ram that's moving backwards and deconstructing certain signposts that are related to reality. And some people are going to notice. Some people will notice. Some people will start to connect the dots. And there'll be the people that they know something's not right, but they don't really know exactly why or how. It's happening. So when this happens, it's not a delicate process. People lose their minds. They lose their minds. This is what happens with Mars and Gemini retrograde. You lose your fucking mind. And it all started with that Mars square with Neptune. About 3 weeks ago, it was like, wow. Things started to really begin to disintegrate in a lot of ways. And you say, well, it's been disintegrating for a while. No, it's really, I'm going to show you some stuff tonight. I'm going to show you this one tweet. I'm going to show you how disintegrating this reality is becoming. So what we're going to witness are people losing their shit with Mars retrograde. And just look at where we've been. We did a whole year of lockdowns, pretty much a whole year. Can you imagine that? Almost an entire year of being locked down, having somebody tell you to put a mask on. Don't put the mask on. Wear the mask. Don't get the mask. Don't worry about vaccinations. you can get herd immunity, especially up to a certain year. No, you got to get the vaccination. Oh yeah, well, if you get the vaccination, it's not really going to protect you, but it'll lessen the symptoms. Oh yeah, in order for you to make sure that you don't get the follow-up, you're going to have to get a second shot and a booster. Oh, and yeah, you will probably get COVID, but the symptoms won't. Do you see what's going on? Do you see how people have been fucking conditioned and tortured and traumatized by the mixed messages in our society? And now here we are with Mars retrograde, and this thing is running backwards down a hill, and it is out of control. It's out of control. That doesn't mean that you have to lose your mind or lose your shit, right? Because if you've been in the trenches and you've been really doing everything you can to stay centered, stay grounded, hold the line, deal with intense amounts of criticism and intense amount of pressure and coercion, and you're like, no, I know what's right for me. I know what's good for me. I trust my ability to make the right choices. You're watching this show. If you're watching this show, pretty good chance you're one of those people. If you're watching this show and you're not one of those people, it's okay. It's okay. Because you can wake the fuck up now, right? And I tell you, I've been on message boards where people have just been absolutely savage. It's like, fuck all you motherfuckers who told me to take the fucking shot. And I didn't do it. Fuck you. You guys deserve everything you fucking get. Is there some truth to that? Well, if you're an asshole, yeah. If you're an asshole and you're one of those people who were scolding other people, sure, you deserve everything you get. If you were scolding other people and you were making fun of people, you were trying to bully people, and guess what happened? Didn't work out so well for you. Yeah, I'd say you kind of deserve it. I'm sorry. Because that's what happens when you're a dick like that. And we've seen enough videos where people that really put themselves out there have been rudely, well, maybe they have been rudely awakened, but their now living relatives have, right? With other people who quietly went about their business and did everything in their power to try to stay in the middle or placate their boss or placate the company's policy or placate their mother and father or placate their children or their grandchildren, right? I don't hold any animus towards any of those people. And I don't think we should. They were just doing what they thought was the best thing that they could do. They were just trying to protect people. They're put in difficult situations. And guess what? Now, a lot of them are in regret mode. So they deserve, all the love and support we can give. I'm serious about that. And I have a cynical side of me, but I only save it for the bullies who are trying to bully people. Those people who had to do it, weren't making a big deal out of it, weren't making videos, weren't showing off their moment on Instagram, whatever, and shove it in your face and telling everybody else to do it. People that didn't do that, it's like you're in the defrag moment. There's a good chance that you're saying, Jesus, I'm probably not doing as well as I was before. Pretty good chance. Not everybody, because we know in some of those vials were blankety blank. And if you got a blankety blank, good on you. But so this is a group that is being defragged. They're being defragged. Their heads are going, holy shit, what did I do? What did I do? Why did I do this? How do I not do it again? That's what's going on. And that has both political and social and spiritual effects and implications. Those people will never, and God bless them, I hope that they stay healthy and can stay in the game. But do you think that they're going to get another chance at re-indoctrinating those people again through some other kind of plague? The answer to that is no. No. And and there are people on the record, like after hijack #1, they're like, man, I'm good. Jimmy Dore, I'm good. That last one, I didn't do so well. I'm good. And then Mars retrograde. What are we having on the road? We're having accidents. I can't tell you how many first responders and crashes and shit I see on the highway, in town. They're always going. They're always going. And I'm seeing them in places where people just pass out, just drop. Stores on Main Street, sort of the big what is it called? The wagon wheel or whatever. It's a big gas station. Some trucks go there. A couple of weeks ago, there was a car there. They were putting it up on a tow truck, right? One of those ramp tow trucks. They had, because you know why? Well, it was too big for the little tow truck. That's number one. The other reason why is because the dude who was driving that car was not going to be able to drive that car. He was off in an ambulance, and they had they had at least 1 or 2 ambulances there. You know, they have the little fire truck, then they had the ambulance, and they had the big fire truck. That was all happening at the gas station. Somebody all of a sudden could not drive their fucking car. And I've seen this. This is going on all the time. You don't think people are paying attention? At some point, the numbers reach critical mass. And all of a sudden, a light goes off in the head. And then it's the holy fuck moment. That's where the defragging happens. That's when that is a critical moment. That's when people can lose their shit. They can lose their shit. And then all of a sudden they look around and go, wow, we've been done lied to. That's what's happening with Mars retrograde. And the driving stuff is part of it. We've been done lied to. What are we going to do now? So the idea here is when Mars moves forward, which it will on January 13th, people might have reassembled, begin to reassemble the defragged parts of their brain. And we won't get fooled again. This is what I'm thinking, and I'm hoping. This will be the 3rd anniversary coming up of the great moment, the great lockdown. Nothing like this has ever happened on our planet that we know of in this time, and there's nothing. We've had wars. Not every country was hit by the war. We've had some financial issues. Some places worse, better than others. But we all haven't simultaneously experienced the same thing at the same time, like we did then. Saturn and Aquarius, the lockdown, science, Fauci, the high priest. And when we move, it'll be 3 years. 3 years when Saturn moves into Pisces. It's going to be very interesting. You know, Pisces are hospitals. Pisces are places like morgues. Pisces, or the 12th house, is sanitariums. Pisces in the 12th house, guess what? Now we've got assisted death. Oh, Canada, they're starting franchises up there in Canada. You don't like the way your life is going? We got just the answer for you. It's called the Edward G. Robinson effect. If you've watched Soylent Green, you know what I'm talking about. That's Saturn and Pisces coming. I mean, we could see people who don't make it through the defragging process, and they just don't want to be here. They're like, I'm good, I'm done, I'm out. You don't think that that's going to be a worldwide movement? It will be a worldwide fucking movement with Saturn and Pisces. And some of these people, when they realize what they've done and they realize what the mechanisms were in order to coerce them to do that, they won't be able to face themselves. Some people will. Some people will. Some people will put it back together. That's happening. But some people won't. So Saturn in Pisces is, it's the hemlock. It's the hemlock tea moment. It's the hemlock pod. And that's happening. It's already taken root in Canada. It's taken root in Oregon for a long time now. They'll make it easier, probably easier in Europe. Like a lot of people are just going to be like, you've made this place a living fucking hell. My body sucks. Saturn and Pisces. I'm out. The other side of Saturn and Pisces, I think, has a lot to do with what's going to happen with the institutions that actually created the vaccines. Who was it? Who was talking to me about? So, it was Ben. It was Ben and Ben was talking about when Neptune squares the galactic center, how things are going to get really fucking. I agree with that, but I feel like that's going to be like the back end of the front end of the Saturn and Pisces experience. But it's like, to me, and I know that they indemnified these companies, right? They indemnified these pharmaceutical companies under the Emergency Authorization Act. They're indemnified. They're indemnified. That said, people are going to do everything in their power to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Meanwhile, they're gonna move the needle. They're like, yeah, okay, well, we can't put it in a vial and a spike. Well, how do we just move the mRNA into the food supply? How do we do that? That's where this is going to go next. So you'll see this with Saturn and Pisces, new patents, new kind of transgenic hybrids, things like that. People need to be aware of that. You think we just got out of it because we decided that we're going to toe the line? No, they're going to find other ways. We're going to find other ways. They're already doing it. And so we're in a play, and we're just getting started with the defrag. What do you think people are doing when they watch these videos where people are doing the corkscrew dance and they collapse? What do you think is happening in people's brains? You don't think it's not registering in their brains? Well, they may move on to a football clip or a basketball clip or a music video or a piece of porn or a cat video or whatever, but it doesn't go away. That thing is in their subconscious and it is doing work. It's doing work. So we're in this defrag moment. Let me show you what it looks like. This is all Mars Gemini retrograde stuff. Let's go into Twitter. Good old Twitter. What was this? All right. JJ, you're funny. I did have a good quick snack, JJ. I'm going to be on with Giuseppe this week. Looking forward to that. Let's see what we have here. Here, let me bring this up here. Did you ever wonder why? Did you ever wonder why these so-called servants of humanity, you ever wonder why they want to alter our gene pool? Take a good look at these guys. Take a good look at them. They want to alter our gene pool because they are physically deficient. They're physically deficient. And by altering our gene pool, they make the rest of us less than. Think about that. You ever take a look at Charles Lieber? He's right in the same mix. That's not really what I wanted to see, but I'll show it to you anyway. Since we were on the subject, let's see, where's my tweets? Give me my tweets. There's Grant Wall. Grant Wall of Voodoo. There we go. Should check out Friday's show with Melissa Aguirre. Great show. Let's see. This is the tweet I wanted to. So this is a two birds with one stone. Now listen, I got to tell you, this trigger alert. And it's going to be 18 and above on, geez, I don't know if I should show this. I could get this video taken down. Let me describe it to you. I'm pretty good at describing. The video is a woman who is walking through Home Depot. And she is naked as the day, except for her boots. She's about $3 the Michelin woman, and she's flipping people off and telling everybody how much she hates the country. Let me see if I can just find a reasonable image here. Just hold, give me 1 second here. As close as I can get. Make this bigger. All right, here. I'll show you. Right here. Can you guys see that? Here, I'll make it bigger. See what she's doing? She's flipping everybody off. This is Home Depot, so we're going to get a 2 for on this one. She's flipping everybody off and telling everybody how much she hates America. This goes on for a while. Remember that image, unfortunately. This also gets into astrology as a thing. So when you listen to the woman who is talking and narrating that whole thing, it's like, she crazy. She crazy. She hates America. If you're that person, you're watching this thing, what is that doing to you? And by the way, that video's gone viral. What is that doing to you? Well, first of all, it tells you that there are some fucked up people in this world right now. That woman's losing her shit. That is somebody who is getting their head defragged, although they're not being conscious and aware of it. Because there are people who are conscious and aware. It's like, you know, I'm losing my grip on this world that I knew, but they're not bad, right? These people aren't bad, but they realize that something is really often amiss. And all these elements that I've talked about have added into that. So, but this is not one of those people. This is one of those people who are getting over defragged. But then if you're the woman who's watching that woman, what's going on in your head? The one who's videotaping this. Well, first of all, fucking white people are crazy. That's what's going through their head. I can tell you that right now. Number two, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. When you begin to step back, because a lot of this stuff is very shocking. We're not wired to deal with that on a daily basis. We're just not. It's shocking for a lot of people. But when that happens, and when you really think about it, if you really, even if you have a Home Depot job, which is, I'm not denigrating Home Depot at all, but you'll be thankful for that job. You'll be thankful that you're not that person. And then theoretically, you'll look around and you'll say, man, I'm grateful that I'm not the Michelin woman, and I'm grateful that I have a job, and I'm grateful, right? So it begins this process. So when we have these moments, right? We have these moments. This is what happens with those moments. The people around them begin to galvanize in a different kind of way, because it's showing them the type of world that they don't want, the type of world that has embraced certain values or lack thereof, usually as a result from not knowing how to deal with the defrag, which is what I'm talking about. And you would just say, well, that woman's fucking crazy and she's a crazy Karen, but there's a reason why she's a crazy Karen. It's because she's had contact with reality in a way that has essentially disrupted and fractured her operating system, so she can't operate normally. And by the way, that's behavior 10 years ago that would send you straight to the mental straight to a mental institution. You know, now somebody outside will, you know, give her a robe, a crown, a bouquet of roses, and $100 gift certificate at the Olive Garden. I'm being a little hyperbolic, but it's true to some degree. But that's what happens when people witness that. They go, oh my God. You know, first of all, you listen to what she has to say. You realize that you don't want to be that, and you don't want to necessarily accept that. And then it has this regalvanization. It's like, well, shit, maybe I should be grateful for what I have, because I'm not that. I'm not her. So in a weird way, she becomes almost like a negative or an anti-teacher. Because you can sit back and laugh and go, yeah, the world is nuts and bad shit and we're losing our shit. But when you really, really sit down and think about it, that's what that person is doing. They're reminding other people. Everybody has a fear of madness, by the way. Aside from death, it's the second greatest fear, is losing one's mind. But when you go to a place where you lose your mind, you come back, you realize nobody can ever really take it from you. Trust me, I've been there. Do I want to go there again? No, I don't want to go there again. Once was enough. Thank you. Right. But that one time was enough to be deeply integrative in my life. So that also is, again, astrology is a thing. That is a South Node in Scorpio true node moment. Why? Because the South Node in Scorpio brings fucking shit up, right? The whole Hunter Biden laptop thing, South Node Scorpio, all the way. All the way. It's exactly what, and we're seeing more and more of it. Corruption, pedophilia, you know, all the, just the, you know, what did we see with Veritas this last week? The guy who is the dean of a private prep school in Chicago, who's given out butt plugs and dildos to his students, and had a trans person come to their school and hang out. This guy was on Project Veritas. That is a South Node in fucking Scorpio moment, right? What about Sam Brinton? You know, Sam Brinton, the guy who has now stolen 2 pieces of luggage. You know, old Sam. Here, I'll show you. Isn't it funny? We have Sam Brinton and we have Sam Bankman. We got two Sams during Mars retrograde Gemini. So this is a day ago. When is he born? Oh my God, he's born on 9/11. God, of course he is. Here it is. This is his. He's a two-time offender now. Sam Brinton, non-binary Biden official, stole jewelry worth $1,700 in second luggage theft. Biden's rainbow-colored T-shirt design helped authorities. Biden's officials' rainbow-colored T-shirt design helped authorities crack the case. So he had his own T-shirt. So this is the second guy. So Samuel Brinton, who has served, he hasn't been let go yet, as the Energy Department's Department of Energy Deputy Assistant Secretary for spent fuel and waste disposition since June, allegedly stole a suitcase. Allegedly, they got it on video. He admitted to taking it. I guess we legally have to use the word allegedly. He allegedly stole a suitcase worth total estimate worth of $3,670 on July 6th at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, according to a declaration filed by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. The bag contained jewelry valued at $1,700, clothing worth $850, and makeup valued at $500. So this was prior to the suitcase that he stole in. This is the alleged part. The suitcase that he stole in Minneapolis. So this is the other case. Brent, meanwhile, is scheduled to appear at a court hearing in Minnesota State Court later this month to face similar charges from a September incident at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. Police accused Brinton of stealing a suitcase worth $2,325 from an MSP baggage carousel. Now, they have him on video with this. September 16th, according to a criminal report filed October 26th. Minneapolis police similarly observed via security camera footage Brinton taking a suitcase before removing its tag and hurrying away. Brinton blamed taking the bag on tiredness. There's Jennifer Granholm. So this guy, whatever, stole a bag that contained jewelry at $1,700, clothing worth $850, and makeup. Do you know what that means? He was targeting luggage. He was targeting luggage. So the reason I'm bringing that up, because it's like there's luggage, I guarantee you, that looks female. Women have different luggage than men. They do. They just do. It's just different, right? It's more whatever. Men, unless a guy's like really into status, men don't really give a shit about their luggage. It works. Women, on the other hand, are into status and style. They like nice luggage, generally speaking. So he was eyeballing that luggage. Anyway, two things with that. Number one, that's from July. Hello, retrograde, right? That's from the past. So they're going back and they looked at that footage. I said, that's our guy, because he had a specially designed shirt that they'd seen on him. And it was in the video. Of course, how many bald-headed dudes with a porn mustache, steal fancy and high status women's luggage? He eyeballs the fucking luggage. So the obsessive part is Scorpio. He can't help himself. He cannot help himself. You would think that with that wonderful government salary that he's making, that he might be able to afford $1,700 worth of makeup, nice piece of luggage, maybe some clothes. You would think so, right? Oh, no. No, no, no. He is going to risk. The risk is part of it too. He's uncontrollable. He's uncontrollable. So what do they call that? They call it obsessive. He has an obsessive personality disorder. He can't help himself. That is Plutonian. That is the South Node in Pluto. We're watching it. We're watching it just right there. South Node in Pluto. Come right up. Just like the woman at Home Depot. That's a South Node in Pluto moment. Naked, obsessive, kind of weird, dark. Where's the true node? Taurus. Where's it at? Home Depot. What's Home Depot? Home supplies, tools, digging, plants, all Taurus stuff. There's your South Node, true node moment right there. So we're seeing all this South Node shit just start to come up. And it's like, ooh. This is part of the defrag too. It's not just what's happening, with how do I say this? The statistics. It's not just the statistics, although the statistics are part of the South Node in Scorpio. Because what are we witnessing? We're witnessing people get ushered out. Hello, Scorpio is death. Am I right? It's death. People are paying attention. But then we see the other side of this, which is just the ew. Like the guy that's giving out butt plugs and dildos, Sam Brinton, who cannot contain himself. He can't contain himself. He's casing suitcases on the conveyor belt. He's checking them out. Oh yeah. Isn't that a Louis Vuitton? Oh yeah. Let me look around. And what happens if somebody grabs that suitcase for you? Boy, I bet he's pissed. This is what's going on. This is all South Node stuff. And what are people, how are they dealing with this? Because now it's all starting to add up. Something's not right. Something's not right. Something's not right. Something's not right. So Mars and Gemini going through retrograde, going through the defrag. Some people are not going to be able to handle it. Some people are going to wake the fuck up. That's what's going to happen. They will wake up. What they do after that, I don't know. We'll find out. It'll be interesting when the South Node is in Libra and that true node is in Aries. Boy, when that true node is in Aries, people are not going to have a lot of patience. They're just not going to have patience. All right. Astrology is a thing. I'll give you a couple of astrology is a thing examples. So this week I had a reading. It was on Wednesday. It was during the full moon in Gemini. And who was I reading for? I was reading for two brothers. I didn't plan it that way. Or two brothers. Yeah, two brothers. If you think brothers, well, two, but two brothers. I didn't plan it that way. It was like, okay, they're free this day. I'm free this day. Let's make it that day. And what do I get? Brothers on the moon in Gemini. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. I didn't plan that out. But that's how you know astrology is a thing. I had Melissa Aguirre on my show on Friday, and I had done a reading for her on Thursday. And I'm like, really interesting chart. She's doing yoga on an army base, and she's helping wounded warriors, and she's, trying to help out these people who are going into the army. And, I am not a big army guy. I am big in defending for sure. I'm a big, defend your home, defend your family. And if you have to, defend your country. Right? I'm a big defending guy. I am not a go on the offense guy. I got Mars and Cancer, 0 degrees. Every time I ever started a fight, I got my ass kicked. Every time I had to defend myself or defend somebody else, I did much better. Trust me. That said, she does stellar work. and especially with the wounded veterans. And lo and behold, I look at her chart and she's got Mars in Leo and Chiron in Leo. Hello, wounded warrior, right? Conjunction. Venus in Aries, she married a guy who wound up becoming an army medic at the age of 19. So she literally married somebody who was going into the army, and he's a lifer. Venus in Aries, trine Mars, trine Chiron, right? So you look at that and go, man, astrology is a thing. It's the thing. So this has been a week. You'll see this with Mars retrograde, in Gemini. You'll see these correlations. You'll see these connections. If you know even a rudimentary piece about astrology, you'll understand that astrology is a thing. And we're seeing more and more of that. All right, let's talk a little bit about perfections. And I have a nice little site here. It's called A Modern. It's just kind of a little lifestyle site. So it says, the animal perfection is a technique developed in the Hellenistic tradition of astrology. Pretty simple stuff, right? The way it works in each year of the native's life, the ascendant, where the first house signifying the native, is advancing annually, moving into the next sign. Depending on what your rising sign is, you'll transit each year in different signs. So while the themes stay in houses, the way you experience them will be based on the sign that transits to that house. So you're transiting, you're basically taking your rising sign, and you're going from the first house to the second house to the third house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're 0 to 1, right, that's your rising sign, whatever it is. That is like your first perfection. And then you will have the second perfection to your first house every 12 years. Well, it'll be that way for every house. 0, 12, 36, 48, 60, 72, et cetera, right? Same thing goes with the second house. So the second house, you'll be 1, right? Because you go from 0, 1, you're in a second house perfection, but it's always going to be determined by your rising sign, right? So it'd be 1, 13, 25, 37, 49, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Third house, that'll be your age 2 perfection. And again, just keep doing 12 and 12 and 12 and 12 and 12, right? So I am currently in a third house perfection. So it's about communication, learning about communication, family, friends, and a commitment to expressing myself. Yes, that's true. That is very true. Jasper, you've been a part of my third house perfection. Next year, I'm going into a fourth house perfection. That's 63. Yes, I'll be 63 next year. And that is going to just line right up with Saturn transiting my fourth house. That's going to be interesting. This home is going to change. I can tell you that right now. So that's how perfections work, right? So you want to take your rising sign, whatever your rising sign is, and then you want to just like slice it up by 12. 0 to 12, 1 to 13, 2 to 14, 3 to 15. Then you just keep adding 12 onto those houses. And so those houses become a theme, right? And it's usually colored by your rising sign. Fifth house has a lot to do with children, pleasure, fun, all that good stuff, right? Yep. Sixth house, the first time sixth house perfection shows up, you're 5. 12 years later, 17, 29, 41, 53, 65, and so on and so on and so on. So that's how you know what perfection year you're in. And those are the issues that you're dealing with. Throw your rising sign into it on top, and then you mix it around and you get the calculus for what that perfection is. So let's go through it again. From the age of 0, you will be in your first house perfection. 12 years later, it comes around again. 24 years later, it comes around again. Or 24. At 36, it comes around again. At 48, it comes around again. At 60, it comes around again. And that's how it works. That's how it works. And you just do it out for every house. So if you go to the 12th house, the first time you'll have a 12th house perfection will be at 11, right? I guess the really tricky 12th house perfections, when you get up there a little bit, like 71, 83, 95, 107, you may not make it out of that 12th house perfection. Caveat emptor, but that's how they work. And it's, like I said, I'm no expert in Hellenistic astrology, but that's one of the little tricks that Hellenistic astrology can teach you. Thank you, Jamie, for that question. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, you can go ahead and leave them down in the comment section here. All right, I told you I'd talk about perfections, and there I go. There they were. Okay, so 9/11. Hey, it's Sam Brinton's birthday. God, when you know 9/11, please fire him from his government job, because what else is he stealing? The guy's in fucking nuclear energy and waste. What else is he stealing? I don't want to know. Okay. Let's I want to play you a video. So I watched this great documentary. You know, Stanley Kubrick is such a freak. He's such a great director. And I watched this documentary on this movie called Film Worker. And I knew a little bit about Leon Vitali. I knew that he was the bartender in The Shining. I knew that he was it Red Robe in Eyes Wide Shut? He was Lord Bullington in Barry Lyndon. But I didn't know to the extent of his relationship with Stanley Kubrick was. It was one of the oddest relationships. I mean, he was Kubrick's personal assistant, but he was more than that. He was part of Kubrick's mind. And Kubrick became part of his mind. And when Kubrick died, it was Leon who really made sure that Eyes Wide Shut came together. It was Leon who made sure that the retrospective Kubrick box set, which I own, was to the exact specifications of what Kubrick would have wanted. And Kubrick was a detail freak beyond any detail freak I've ever seen. I mean, it was nuts with details, nuts. Like he was almost borderline obsessive with details, but that's what made him great. That's what made him stand out in terms of his ability to direct. So I watched this documentary, and I'm like, this is nuts, man. This guy gave up his life for Stanley Kubrick. And he was an actor when he was young. He was actually an up-and-coming actor in England. And he got his big break with Kubrick in Barry Lyndon, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And he was like, I just want to do this. I want to be a part of what he called film working, not movie making, but film working. And that began his apprenticeship with Kubrick, which lasted until Kubrick's death. And It's a very interesting documentary. So let me play you a little clip of the documentary, and then we're going to get into their charts because it's really interesting. This is some of the documentary about the life of Leon Vitali.
Dear Leon, thank you for your great talent, energy, and kindness. Sincerely, Stanley. People who met him for the first time would always come out saying, "Oh, geez, nothing like what I've heard about. I know the real Stanley Kubrick."
What Leon did was a kind of crucifixion of himself.
30 years he spent with Stanley Kubrick.
They were inseparable.
I was doing theatre, television, prestige costume dramas, BBC, one-off plays, cop dramas, sitcoms.
I shocked you, didn't I?
A phone call came through, and my agent told me, "You've got the role in Stanley Kubrick's picture." Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I almost passed out.
Leon was a spirit, the apprentice that all of a sudden one day became the master with all the answers.
Danny, you gotta listen to Stanley.
Look scared, look back, left Danny, turn right.
Look around now, hesitate.
He was my acting coach.
Come and play with us, Daddy.
It wasn't even in the script that they were twins. I was just looking for someone who was good. And he looked at it and just said, "Well, there's no question, is there?"
Stanley assigned Leon to me.
Sir, no, sir! Are you a Peter Pupper?
Speed it up, fast.
If it wasn't for Leon Vitali, I doubt I would have done half the job.
Oh my God.
Stress.
Oh yeah. There was just so much to do.
Leon was always
It was
working.
like pow. Stanley never trusted anybody. He just did. Everything had to be to the millimeter.
It is your responsibility to make sure they understand exactly what you want.
Inventory, timing sheet, trailer, translation, lab work, color time, layout. I don't know how to do layouts. Sure you do. These are from Eyes Wide Shut. I'm playing 8 different people. When somebody would say to Stanley, "I'd give my right arm to work for you," he would kind of smile, because I actually think he thought, "Well, why are you lowballing me? What, just the right arm?" I wanted to be with Stanley, work with Stanley, do all that stuff. I just wanted to.
So it's a happy ending.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
All right. So I just wanted to play that for you because I thought to myself, well, what's their connection astrologically? Why did he feel so attracted, magnetized, and compelled to spend the majority of his life being Stanley Kubrick's bitch? Because really, that's what he was. I mean, he did it with a lot of dignity and respect, but he would spend 14 hours a day at Stanley Kubrick's place. And do you think the job ended when he went home? No, it didn't. So for almost 30 years, he melded with Stanley Kubrick in a way that nobody else really did or could have. And Kubrick was a very difficult personality. On the one hand, he could be very, very kind and soft-spoken. And on the other hand, he would be just absolutely diabolic in terms of what he would do. Now, Ryan O'Neal, who you saw briefly there, was in Barry Lyndon, and he was quite good, and he was a star at the time. And so Stanley Kubrick needed to get a star for that movie, and everybody wanted to work with Kubrick. He was the director's director. If you're in a Kubrick movie, it was kind of like doing Shakespeare at the Globe Theater or Shakespeare on Broadway or something like that. That's the status that came with being in a Kubrick film. Everybody wanted to be in one. And so Ryan O'Neal, of course, said yes. And he was just, I think, coming off of Love Story, where he was a huge star, pre-Paper Moon, all that shit. So anyway, there's a scene in the movie where he plays Lord Bullington and he calls out Ryan O'Neal's character, who goes by the name of Barry Lyndon, and just undresses him in front of everybody in this gathering, this like concert hall, on this estate, and undresses him and embarrasses him. And Ryan O'Neal has to get up out of his chair and then hit him in the back and then tussle with him. And Stanley Kubrick told Ryan O'Neal to do it over and over and over again, and harder, harder, harder. And you could see the tears almost begin to form in Ryan O'Neal's eyes when he talked about it, because he was like, he liked Leon Vitali. Everybody liked Leon. And Stanley Kubrick was that fucking diabolical that he was forcing Ryan O'Neal to get to that 30th or 40th take where, he had really gotten into the rage and the contempt of this character that was really at the heart and the soul of this movie in a lot of ways, right? And that's how Kubrick operated. And he also, at the same time, was testing Leon Vitali. He would test him. So what are you made of? What are you made of? Can you get through this production? And not everybody got through Stanley's productions. Some people lost their shit and would leave the set and never to return. Right? They did the same thing with F. Lee Ermey, the guy who played the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. He wasn't supposed to have that role. He basically took it from the guy who had that role, because Leon Vitali really coached Lee Ermey up, right? He coached him up and he became the guy. And that guy, Lee Ermey, had a shit ton of roles and TV shows. It was really because of Full Metal Jacket. And the guy who was supposed to do the role, he said, we won't be needing your services anymore for that role, but we do have another role for you as a gunnery sergeant on one of the helicopters. He said, after they told me that, I couldn't see straight. It was like this was going to be his big role, his big breakthrough as this drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. Kubrick just said, yeah, this other guy's better. Use him. Anyway, so I decided to look at the charts of the two. And I was not disappointed. So check this out. Stanley Kubrick and Leon Vitali share the same birthday. I mean, come on, right? They're both born on July 26th. Stanley Kubrick is a dragon and Leon Vitali is a rat. He looks like a rat. I'm telling you, rat people look like rats. They really do. And I guess, what is Stanley? He's like a wood dragon. I think he's a wood dragon. He's a big presence. But look at that. See that? Bang on right there. That's Kubrick right in the center. And you can just see also with Venus, right? Venus being art right on the midheaven. And then Neptune. I'm telling you, people that have Neptune in the 10th house or on the midheaven, they are just very deeply artistically inclined. And here, this is Kubrick's midheaven, and there is Vitali's Pluto, right? So he's not going to go anywhere. He's going to stick the fuck around with Pluto on his midheaven. And yet it's going to be Kubrick's work intensity that will transform Leon. I don't know Leon's time. I just put his sun at 12 noon because, well, his sun would align with Kubrick's sun anyway. no matter where it is. And then even here we have the Mercury conjunction and Pluto. Pluto just doing the mind dump. The Mercury-Pluto conjunction, man, that is Kubrick's intensity, right? His intensity around detail and memory, just, phenomenal mind up in the ninth house. And then coming down in here and trining the moon. And, Kubrick's a Scorpio rising. He's got his moon in the first house, which is, he's got some, some layers of sensitivity, but right there, he also has black moon Lilith. So he's a dark side of an even darker Scorpio moon. This is really interesting. And even Neptune and Saturn, right? Like, so this is Kubrick's Neptunian vision, like the filmic vision. And then Leon Saturn is right there to help him carry it out. It really is kind of a master apprentice relationship. Here's the South Node. Vitali's South Node is right on his ascendant. Right on his ascendant. A lot of people say, well, that's a past life. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it is. Maybe somewhere in medieval territory, Kubrick was an alchemist, and Leon Vitali was his sorcerer's apprentice. And in this lifetime over here, the true node in Taurus conjunct Kubrick's Jupiter and Chiron partnership. This was the most important relationship in Leon Vitali's life. The most important, bar none. Probably more important than his kids. Of course, it's more important than his kids. He was gone 14 hours a day. He's got a son and a daughter. And then he's got a moon in Aries, right? And his moon is right on Kubrick's Eris. It's like you get Discordia with Stanley Kubrick. You get to deal with all of Stanley's crazy shit. Fascinating. And he's got a Mars Libra conjunction. So he loves art. He's really into this whole idea of art. And what he says in the movie, which I think is quite interesting and really speaks to the Pluto conjunction with Kubrick's midheaven, is like, you're either in it or you're not halfway. Right? There's no gray area here. You're either out to do something extraordinary or don't do it at all. And that's what he got from Kubrick through this whole thing. And you can also tell that there's a challenge here, right? Because Mars-Neptune conjunction is sacrificial too in Libra. It's totally sacrificial. And he's even going to sacrifice his family time, his relationship with his home, so he could, be Stanley's gopher in the 11th house. It's interesting. Like, he found those twins. He found those twins in Clockwork Orange. They weren't written into the script. A lot of times Kubrick didn't have all the script shit written. So let's see. What does Leon have? Is everything in Gemini? Yeah. Make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Yeah, right there. Venus, 26 Gemini. Interesting. And then part of fortune in Gemini. So those twins, they weren't supposed to be in the movie. He found them, though. He found them at one of these auditions. He's like, we got to use them. And Stanley Kubrick's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. And he's got Venus in Gemini, wide conjunction there with Uranus, like early Cancer. And then Kubrick has the true node in Gemini, right? Is it right? Let me just check here. Hold on. I think it's Gemini. Yeah, Kubrick's true node is at 8 Gemini, and Leon's part of fortune is 10 Gemini, right there. So of course, Gemini is going to play a role. And it's totally going to play a role. It's going to play a role for Kubrick. And there's some Gemini themes in Kubrick's movies. There's definitely some Gemini themes. There's like 2 layers of reality at least 2 in Eyes Wide Shut. In 2001, A Space Oddity, there's 2 astronauts. You have Hal. You get the twins in The Shining. Barry Lyndon, there are 2 boys from the marriage, Lord Bullington and his younger half brother. Barry Lyndon is amazing. A Thackeray novel. Anyway, I wanted to put this together because you can just see right here the fixed interconnectivity. They become like one person. Mercury to Mercury, Kubrick's Pluto to his Mercury. Can you imagine that? Just having to get into Stanley Kubrick's mind, not because you want to, but he's forcing you. He's forcing you to think like he does so you don't fuck up. That's exactly what's going on here. Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And even Saturn, Jupiter, right? Like he gave up his free will in a lot of ways to submit to Stanley Kubrick's Saturn. And yet, I'm sure Stanley paid him pretty well. I don't think Stanley lowballed him. Probably did quite all right. Interesting. The synergy between Leon Vitali, who basically became Stanley Kubrick's other brain. And there was something that was interesting because after Stanley dies, he'd been such a difficult character to work. If you're a studio, he was difficult. He was so demanding. The thing about Kubrick is he almost always brought his films under budget because he talked about, and when he was in Eyes Wide Shut, he played 8 different fucking characters. Leon Vitali did in Eyes Wide Shut because of the masks. He got to wear the other masks, right? So there's that. So he always came out under budget, and his films made money. And yet, he was so difficult when it came to details. I mean, even like the most minute things as to how, and this is, they would get so anal about this stuff, like how a particular ad layout would have been for one of the movies. Like they needed everything just perfect. Everything was just perfect. And when you look at that, I'm like, God, this is what true mastery achieves or wants to achieve. It wants to hit every single frame in a movie perfectly, where nobody looks back and says, hey, you could have done that better. Right. And then I look at that with my own life and I'm like, shit, I fall so far short of that kind of intense and fiery what would you call it? Obsessive fury of creation. You watch something like that, you put your own life under a microscope, and look, not everybody's going to be Stanley fucking Kubrick, okay? But he was never going to settle for just a shot, or he wasn't going to settle for just a scene. He was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this in a way that is deep and rich and textured and layered. And every single element about this thing is going to make sense. It's going to work. It's going to fit. It'll be a piece in a much bigger tapestry. So it's just interesting to watch something like that and then put one's own life up against that as a reflection. Go, wow, man, I'm lagging. I'm definitely lagging in that regard. All right. Little interesting. By the way, if you that video, if you want to watch that video, that's on YouTube. I'll leave a link. It's really fascinating. If you have any interest in film, Kubrick, inner dynamics of people, psychology, man, that film is so fucking good. And Leon Vitali is just he's a very pure guy. Like, I don't know exactly what he knew or what went on in his life, but you can just tell that there's such a purity of intent and a desire to, do things for Kubrick that was above and beyond the call of almost any other human. It's really fascinating. That's the Pluto effect on on his Mercury, and then the sun conjunction. Fascinating stuff. All right. So I'll have links in the bottom, the description for the show. And you guys can check them out. So we'll have links for Chris's Etsy pages, Logo Sophia, my stuff. If you want to, it's 48 hours for my stuff. That ad is going down in 48 hours, or that link. Same thing with the show. I'm not the show. The course. Got 48 hours. Same thing with Lady Artemis and Etsy in her shop. And you can always just go to Chris and throw down 15 mins when you check out, and you'll get free product and any of his CBD stuff. All right. Thank you, one and all. Have a blessed evening and a great tomorrow. On the astrological side, I'll see you on Sunday on 15 Minutes of Flame, which is my daily stream. I'll see you on Tuesday at 9/11 Central Standard Time. Until then,